I wonder from an outside perspective, like this new album coming out 14 years after the last one. I wonder if you feel expectation differently. I read an interview, I think, Jeff, with you, where you were talking about, we're unique enough that people are sort of challenged when we put things out. And the thing that keeps coming into my mind, the more and more I have listened to you over the past 2 years, is esoteric. And I don't mean that in terms of like it's arty or somebody doesn't some people don't get it or something like that, but it feels like something that is very unique and very specific. And if you can unlock it, and it feels like you've got a really great fan base that gets what you're doing, and it's always every album is unique and surprising, but sometimes it does take a while for it to click. I mean, it took me I must have listened to Crooked Rivers maybe 5 times before I was like, oh, this is my favorite song. I want every lyric tattooed on my back. You know what I mean? But it took me those
That's
five
great.
times to hear it, to really hear it. And those are some of my favorite bands because I think they teach you how to listen. So I wonder if what your expectations are sort of going forward into this next record about reception.
I think that, and I'll let B elaborate on this too in a moment, but, I feel like, because we've always been predominantly a live force,
Yeah.
when people see us live, they get it immediately, and there's not that challenge of, trying to just soak it all in from a studio recording standpoint. So the people that have seen us, those are the people that have been in the cult with us, the whole time. And so we've always had that challenge to try to, be able to convert new listeners that haven't seen us yet. And so, with this record in particular, the production, we worked so hard on the production on this record. And, we feel like this is the best representation of, what we've always tried to do and what has always needed to be done. Like a lot of the stuff that we do, it really feels like it's just floating overhead and we catch it. And it's a very specific, vibe and headspace, and
Yeah.
it's nothing that we like intend on creating. It's just kind of like what we are and what we do. um and so we feel like this new record, with the hard work that we did on the production, we feel like this is the one that best represents what you would see and what you would experience if you came to a show. So I feel like this one is going to be a little bit more universally accepted upon the first listen. And
Uh-huh.
in this day and age with instant gratification culture, where you want everything right now, you want it right now. That I think that's important to be able to have the impact defined and have it just so focused to where you can get that gratification instantly when you listen to the record, as you would if you were standing at the venue. And I know B has a lot to elaborate on this as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've always had, because we're not genre specific,
Yeah.
it's hard for people to just, like put us in a box that, that this is exact, this is who they are. And I think that was
Right.
always hard for a lot of people to kind of wrap their heads around because there was just so many different genres of music all within, a 15-minute song. But I do think that people are more, because it's scroll generations now, people's attention spans have changed. And so now I think people are more apt to be able to listen to a song that's, even though our attention spans have gotten shorter, when you have 15 minutes of a song that's just constantly changing and it's taking you on this
Yeah.
journey. I think it's easier for people to relate to that now, where before it was just like, oh my gosh, it's just so all over the place. I can't really, like it was hard for them to like get on that
Yeah.
journey. But now I think it's a lot easier, because of just how much, people have changed over time. And I think it's really to our advantage. That being said, anytime we write music, we don't write it for a specific listener or anything. And, I mean, we don't even create music. We just, pretty much channel it, right? And so,
Right.
and the earth speaks to us, and we're lucky that we just get to translate, its voice and its sound. And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, there's going to be people who either get it or they don't, and we are perfectly fine with that. Maybe like music is such an emotional experience, maybe, people just haven't had that experience, emotionally when listening to it that connects, which, as Jeff was saying, when you play live, I think it's pretty, we're able to make that connection instantly with people, but at the end of the day, we only write for ourselves. So we don't really have a lot of pressure on us, to try to, get this point across. It's like,
Right.
you get it or you don't, and that's okay with us.
Yeah, you create it, you let it. I think the way that the single, the title track starts off, I mean, it's your Brittany, you are the one that has the sort of higher black metal kind of vocal. Is that you starting out that song on Return of
Uh,
Magic?
it's me and
and
CT both
and
going back and
CT both.
forth. Yeah,
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 okay. That's what I thought. The beginning of that song is so strong. It's just
yeah,
like, and I'm hearing what Jeff's saying about live. Just it just smashes you in the face, and that riff is so killer. And I did want to
yeah.
talk to you about, like, it feels immediate. It feels like a live experience. That's interesting. I talked to Victor from Dune, and the Scottish band, and he said that they really tried to tailor their latest album more to a live experience too. And I wonder if that has something to do with the pandemic as well. You know what I mean? That you're right, Brittany. I mean, obviously our attention spans have gotten shorter, and I wonder if that's almost if it's different visually than orally. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
because of the podcast, we've been listening to, or the pandemic, we've been listening to podcasts for, that's when I got into it. That's when I really started listening to a lot of podcasts. And I wonder if our attention span is actually lengthened in our ears, but
Well,
shortened in our eyes.
and I,
Wow.
I, I can completely relate to exactly what you just said. I think that was beautifully phrased. Um, and yeah, I really do. I think that was beautifully phrased.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think, and that's one of the things that I love is like Return of Magic is not, you haven't gone to 3 minute songs. You haven't, you know what I mean? You haven't changed it. It's still you. I love the fact that you guys talk about it like channeling, because it does have, as much as there is sludge and there's doom and there's all these kinds of different styles, I do feel that, um, I continually feel that black metal feel to it. It feels like the energies of the earth coming out through the prism of your personalities, and
Yeah,
it's for good and for evil, all that comes out. And I think that's where maybe some of the esoteric comes from, because it does feel like it's something's personal. But some of these lyrics are feel very potent, very, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but there's something that I recognize about it. Beyond all opposites and beyond the balance, the return of magic in a crystal fucking palace. I don't know why, but something about that just resonates like on a biological level. There's
yeah.
something about it that like makes the cells makes my cells dance. And so I wanted to ask you guys about the lyric writing process. That section has a great feel. It almost feels like hip hop. It's that spoken word. It kind of um, a blast of energy, that comes from the South and comes from, uh, you know uh, it feels like a, yeah, culture that, yeah, exactly, oppression. And I mean,
Yeah,
I don't want to be insulting, but you know what I mean. You're
yeah,
from Arkansas,
yeah.
and things aren't always great in Arkansas.
No,
And
And
no. Yeah,
you have to also look at it this way, the power of the preacher, like, I mean, the force in which one speaks when they are speaking to a large, congregation or whatever, like that is something that, CT has always done that very well. He's
mm,
always been the cult leader,
yeah,
the Charles Manson or the Jim Jones or whatever, speaking to all instead of just one.
yeah,
And so he's always been very great at just commanding, the minds of the listener with his speech.
yeah,
And the lyrics, the vocals and the lyrics turned out so great on this one. And I mean, there when we first started getting the rough mixes back, I mean, there was times there's parts in Stardust Flowers, which is the third track that,
Yeah.
I was actually driving, and tears were coming down my face just listening to the words that he was saying. And, like when he's like, she gave us everything, her life, her beauty, her majesty, like just, those, it's just so heartfelt that, it really does speak to the masses.
And all of that language about the heart hooked up to a reactor, and
Hmm.
there's something really there's something really so genuine and so heartfelt about it. Brittany, thank you for saying oppression while I'm like stumbling around trying not to trying not to be insulting. I know I appreciate that though, because it has that feeling of like, it's a depressed economy. It's a very it feels like people coming out of that world and saying we're not going away, and not only are we not going away and we're not going to be invisible, we're also divine. There's
Yeah.
there's real. I love the title "Return of Magic." It made me so happy to see that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Of course Wake would do that. um so I'm really excited for when this releases. The other song that you guys released, I figured I'd talk about the singles because people can go and listen to them right now. Is "You Swore We'd Always Be Together." That opening is so beautiful with the guitars, and then it goes into that really heavy, distorted guitar and the sort of the black metal vocals and the spoken word, the kind of you guys kind of sharing it. And at a minute and 18, all of a sudden, I think there's a steel guitar.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Fuck
It's a,
yeah! I
yeah,
was
it's a
like,
pedal still.
cool. I was like, I love
Yeah.
it. There's a little rock coming out. It's so great. Such a
Yeah,
cool
and that's
song.
John, and that's John, that's 100% John,
Yeah,
and he's from a Nashville native,
yeah,
so I think when he moved over to guitar, he was able to fill, that where our previous guitar player had, that blues edge almost, he was able to fill that wonderfully,
hmm,
especially with his Nashville roots. And yes, so that's 100% John, and a great addition to the song, and it really adds to the dynamics. And then the way that the beginning of the record starts with the melody and then it ends with that same melody,
yeah,
but it's just if, evolved into something completely different by the end. And the pedal steel comes back in, but it's even more
yeah,
focused in, and it creates this wonderful loop, as this full circle. The
totally.
record really just goes full circle. And I think it's the little things like that, like they're like our secret weapons, like those little Easter eggs that just,
Yeah,
that make everything else more powerful. It's like it's that's those things to me that are the real magic of the record.
it's like a mosaic, and you guys always have
Mhm.
this, there's little bits that add up to the larger picture, but the little bits are
Right.
really interesting and things that keep you listening and that are different and wonderful. And around like 4 minutes in, then that song just destroys. It's so heavy. It's such a Dionysian experience listening to
Mhm.
Wake. It really feels like tearing the clothes off and running into the woods, and it's there's something
Yeah.
so visceral about it, and that I I like, keep coming back to this. Crooked River is one of my favorite songs, and it's just so I was listening to it last night and thinking about this interview and going, this is so crazy. What I'm listening to right now is so fucking crazy, and I love it so much. It's so far out there, it's so extreme, and it's so intense, and I just the guts and the um creative the creative abandon that you guys have to be able to do that. It's so cool. Anyway, I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's that leads back to just the authenticity,
Hmm.
and that we don't put any constraints on ourselves and what we do, us, we're just as authentic as we can be,
Yeah,
and that allows us to do those kinds of things like the pedal still and stuff like that, where we're not, we don't have to quite, we don't have to put into the equation, will the listener like this or something like that. It's like, do
yeah.
we like it? And we do. And so that allows us the freedom to do all of those things.
Totally, and probably allows you to go places that the cop in your head would stop you otherwise.
Right.
I'm running low on time, so I want to ask you guys two more things. Just this, I'm not a musician, so it's all beyond me. But what yeah, I had this thought the other day. There's this song is so complicated. The songs are so complicated, and they have so many parts and so many layers and things like that. How do you know when they're done?
They're never
They're
done.
never done. Yeah, they're never done.
You're still like, ooh, I wish I could have tweaked that, or
Oh,
Oh,
100%. Like even though we
really?
recorded those songs will grow and change over the
Oh,
years,
uh-huh.
tremendously. Yeah, they're never done. That's a process that's because again, it's like it'll grow, it'll grow and we'll channel something different, the more we play it. And so yeah, that's it's never done. I think we actually like especially in the recording process, I think we show a lot of restraint,
Mm,
like we try to think with the idea of just because you can doesn't mean you should, and so I think while all those layers are there, I think we show a lot of restraint on not going too far, because at the end of the day we are a live band and we want to be able to
yeah,
do whatever we're tracking, we want to be able to pull that off live. And so while there's so many layers, I do think that we show a lot of restraint in that regard, because we would be a completely different band if we didn't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, we've been talking about it lately. I feel like we should almost start just a studio band that's just, but then it would be heartbreaking because we wouldn't be able to play it live.
right. You wouldn't be able to share it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, listen, yeah, I know, and it is a lot of restraint, but I got to say, I do love a good sample in there, and you put Unforgiven right before the end of You Crawl Before You Die, and I love that movie, and I heard that sample, and I was
Right.
like,
we're lucky we didn't get
Yeah.
sued. So
yeah.
at least we didn't get sued.
Well, maybe they don't know about it yet, but I don't think
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood listens to my podcast, so we're good. Um, you guys, just today, I just found out right before this. I wish I could end on a happier note. Maybe we will, but Brent Hines is leaving Mastodon, and I'm heartbroken about that. I assume you guys are in the same circles. I figure you
Yeah.
probably know them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we played with them. We played with them in the basement of a like coffee shop in Memphis, when no one even knew who they were. They had just started, and there was probably 20 people there, and we've been friends since then, and
yeah,
we've been in the same circle, and I feel like we breathe the same air in a lot of ways, like.
right.
Like ever since they first started, we were already a band, and then they asked us to come play one of their first shows, and we were glad to do it, and we've been close ever since. And yeah, we were just talking about that on the band thread too. Like we love every single member of that band, and
Yeah,
and he's so talented, and he's such a visionary that
yep,
he's got a lot of other projects going on. So I feel like we there'll be no shortage of amazing Brent music. He's always putting out new stuff and working with new people, and all these awesome collaborations. So I'm excited to see what he puts out
yeah,
next, and I'm excited to see the next chapter of Mastodon as well. Like, I mean, it's definitely sad artistically because his input in that band is so valuable. But things grow and they change and they evolve, and we support them. We support all four of them 100%.
yeah. I think, and they've had great solo projects too. I loved, Braun did the Arcadium, and I loved that.
Yeah, Troy's done some stuff too,
Yeah,
and
Troy's, yeah, exactly. Killer Be Killed is great.
yep.
Love that band. I mean, those guys are fantastic. They're all fantastic. It does feel like that band was always trying to solve for X, and X was Brent, and sometimes it would just be absolute genius because they're trying to figure out what the hell do we do, and then Crack the Sky comes out of them, and you go, again, that
Yeah,
genuine
Yeah.
creative impulse, and they're one of my favorites. So it's heartbreaking, but yeah, you're right. They're, now they get to go, and now we get to see what new conditions will create. So,
Yeah.
um, very cool. Yeah, you guys came out of well, Little Rock, and so about the same time as Mastodon, Baroness, Black Tusk, a lot of those.
yeah. We'd
Uh,
been around a little while before all of those bands, but not by much. And we were
yeah,
all were all in the same circles, and we were very close geographically, and so we stuck together like magnets in those
Cool.
days, and we have lots of love for all of our Savannah and Atlanta friends.
And I talked about it. I talked about it on the podcast, saying that I'm running out of time here, but I was saying like that really feels like post 2000s in the South, the sludgy sound coming out of it. It felt like a metal
Mm-hmm.
renaissance. It felt like
Yeah, Kylesa's back too. Like,
dude, Kyless is back. Fuck yeah.
Mhm.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's so exciting.
Acid Bath is back.
Acid Bath is back. I know that, but that movement, all of those bands coming out of there, it really does feel like that put us in the place where we are in modern metal. And you guys are
100%.
obviously a huge part of that. So thanks for
100%.
talking to me. I feel so
Well, thank
honored.
you so much for having us. We
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
yeah, no worries. And great luck next time you want to. Next time, hey, in another 14 years, let me know and we can do a podcast interview.
Let's do it.
All right, you guys.
All right,
Have a good
thanks.
one.
All right, bye.